Hey guys, since we're always talking about airplane training and Captain Al has done some great plane truths about pilots and co-pilots training and the ability for everyone on the airplane to act as a crew, I thought I would take you through something that's not seen very much, which is a little bit of training. In this case, we're in the DC-3. That's a turbine-powered DC-3. If something goes wrong, in our case, the most the critical thing is maintaining directional control of the airplane as a tail dragger. So we pre-briefed that, and in addition to that, before even going to go fly, we've pre-briefed what we're going to do in an emergency should we lose an engine on takeoff. Now, the dreaded V1 cut is not what we're doing here because this is a real airplane on a real airport. So we're actually just kind of doing a V2 cut, which is your second segment climb. So at this point, we've taken off. We've got full power on both engines. Uh, the aircraft is climbing away from the ground, and we've got the gear up. Gear up and flaps are up, which are two of the most critical things, is just to get all of the drag off of the airplane so you're getting up and away from the ground. Now, at this point, I'm flying the airplane, and I've called for the climb procedure. So you see the left seat, the pilot monitoring, in this case, has gone through the procedure. And as the instructor, he has just said, we just lost an engine. In our case, for this particular flight, we lost the right engine. So very, in the initial stages of multi-engine training, you very quickly learn identify, verify, fix, or feather. So what we're going through the procedure right now is identifying that yes, it is indeed the right engine that has failed. And on the show, we've talked quite a bit about air crews that in the heat of the moment do make their situation worse by pulling the good engine. So in this case, we've identified that it is the right engine, and we'll go through the memory items, which is flaps up, which they are already up, landing gear up, and then pitching for, in our case, V2. Now that is an airspeed that we've pre-planned before even stepping to the airplane. At our weight, this is the airspeed that we need to shoot for should we lose an engine. At that point, I'm verbalizing all of those things. Now this particular aircraft, like many turboprops, has what's called an auto feather system, where if the system senses a reduction in power to a certain point, it will automatically feather that propeller so you're not having extra drag out there. You can kind of pick up on that the critical thing is cleaning up as much drag, getting the airplane as streamlined as possible for single engine operations. So our last step in the memory items is to verify that the propeller has auto feathered. If it hasn't, we can manually feather by just looking outside and pulling the prop lever. Now at this point, the pilot flying in, which in this particular scenario is me, all I'm shooting for is maintaining directional control, getting the airplane into a zero side slip configuration, and just figuring out how it's going to fly. That's set up the trim, use some rudder trim, whatever aileron is necessary to raise the wing with the dead engine, and then work in the rudders, kind of essentially filling out how the whole airplane is working. Now the rest of the procedure, you see the pilot monitoring there. In this case, the left seat is going through the fuel dump procedure, trying to figure out if it's required. Are we climbing? Are we not climbing? And then securing that engine by removing fuel from it, the condition lever in this case, in this airplane, the propeller lever. Should there be a fire, we always pull the fire handle. That's going to shut off numerous systems, pneumatic, fuel, hydraulic systems, electrical to that engine, so we're not making a situation worse. The generator switches at this point, fuel pumps, auto feather, prop de-ice, all of the ancillary systems that don't need to be memory items, that's what the pilot monitoring is doing. Now, we had just taken off. We were only about 400 feet off the ground when the simulated engine failure happened. So we were in a great position to just come right back into the downwind and put the airplane on the ground. And you can see at that point the didn't take very long at all, even in a slow DC-3. The gear is already coming down. The flaps are going to 1/4. and we've got the runway made. Now, the DC-3, again, surprisingly simple airplane to fly. You could pull the power on the downwind, which you can't do with a jet at all, and glide down to make the runway. So single engine operations are pretty easy in this airplane. At this point, we've just got one big turn coming around, did the downwind, talking to tower, letting them know what our intention is, and we're coming back into land. We just turned onto the base leg. Now at this point, again, you start bringing the throttle back to almost a normal landing configuration, or not, as Captain Nick would say, not the throttle, it's actually the power lever. So we bring the power lever because you're in the descent anyways. Now you're removing all of those things that are working against you aerodynamically for single engine, and you're almost back to a normal final. And the airplane just lands like a regular airplane with two engines at that point. So we're just, again, pitching for that correct airspeed that we've pre-planned for single engine operations. And there we go. We're back down on the ground. The whole thing took about 5 minutes from throttle up to doing the pattern, losing the engine, cleaning up the engine, going through the checklist, and putting it back down on the ground in a safe manner. And at this point, the best part of a pilot's job is just to pull it into parking, throw the keys over to our maintenance engineers, and let them figure out what happened. There you go. There is one loop around the pattern, single engine, in a DC-3.